Welcome to another episode of Happy Hour and HatchMan, or Happy Hour with HatchMan, which is me, of course. But I'm super excited to have Joseph with us today. So Joseph Bautista, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Man.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And
Cheers.
so-
we got old fashioned.
Got the old fashions.
We had some Star Wars talk. We geeked out.
Absolutely.
I mean, what's better than tattoos and Star Wars?
Tattoos, Star Wars, and old fashions. I mean, we're starting Happy Hour off the best possible way.
Right.
So, but no, I met Joseph. I had the opportunity. I know we've talked a lot about my fitness journey and things, and so VoloFit. This was the first guy that I met when I walked into VoloFit. Talked to me all about it. I was immediately sold on everything that he was about. And then, obviously we're still getting to know each other even more. I also had the opportunity to watch him coach his group of kids, and I'm going to butcher the name of the style of MMA that you teach, so I'm not even going to try to say it. So tell me.
HatchMan.
HatchMan.
Yeah, it's an acronym.
Okay.
It's an acronym for the 5 rooted martial arts that we practice. And believe it or not, even in fitness, HatchMan is actually my root. Here's why. Fitness, those that are truly into fitness, it requires discipline, consistency, resiliency. We hear a lot of individuals actually stopping their fitness journeys because they quit, they give up. And martial arts really is big and rooted that. I mean, there's you fail more times in martial arts than true martial arts. You fail more time than you actually succeed.
Right.
And it actually adds more value to the success. I mean, we were talking about this picture recently.
Right.
You would not have gotten from there to here today without resiliency, consistency, discipline, and then not completely changing your habits.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. You gotta change a few things.
Keeping them all in balance, right?
Right.
But yeah, Kajikembo, the acronym stands for karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, kempo, and boxing.
That's right. Yeah. So I actually, I wrote it down when I was watching last night. I Googled it real fast and I read that in the thing, but one of these days I'm going to get it because it's super cool. So tell us a little bit about kind of how you got into that. And, just a little bit about, your quick little background, your story.
When it comes to Kajikembo though, it's not how did I get into it? It was, almost like Mufasa birthing Simba. My family held me up going, here's the next generation.
You were born into it.
Yeah, there was a monkey holding me up and tons of giraffes bowing down. That's how
I believe that.
That's the story of my life, right? No, I'm just kidding.
He is the new one.
Well, I've grown up in it. I'm a third generation. So my dad, my grandfather.
Yeah.
My grandfather actually paved the way. God rest his soul.
Oh, nice.
Blessing. We miss him. We're about a year without him. So cheers to you, Grandpa.
Cheers to your grandpa. Absolutely.
But my dad, hands down, is probably one of the best instructors in Kajikembo to date. So I was following through that footsteps. I got my black belt indirectly from my dad, but through my cousin, who was my dad's, strongest student. And when I say strongest, I mean he practiced all of the values that you want from a student, right?
Okay.
Loyalty, commitment, dedication, resiliency. Also, the biggest one, which some instructors have a hard time hearing, he actually questioned my dad, right? And to the point where my dad goes, why does he always question me? I'm like, well, because you taught him how to not accept one answer.
That's what you want.
How to be, how to look at everything from multiple lenses, and then use the most powerful weapon that we have, right?
Yeah.
Our voice.
100%. Absolutely.
That's probably the strongest weapon we ever had. We hear that the pen is mightier than the sword, but the voice is stronger than a bomb.
Absolutely.
Because one multiplies to another.
Yeah.
Your voice reaches this person, and it reaches that person, kind of like how you started the happy hour.
Right. Exactly.
One voice, and then it expands outward.
100%. No, it's word of mouth. I mean, that's still, in my opinion, one of the best ways to, one, provide influence, and then two, business. Like, there's so many correlations with it. I mean, again, like, we were talking about, how I even got to VoloFit. Like, I met Alex through this journey as well, and found out he was there. And it was funny. I actually just didn't even know he was working out at VoloFit until after I joined. How random is that?
Well, a funny story. He actually used to be my client. Yes.
That's right.
We met, he and I, just after the pandemic. And we talk about we're in sales at the end of the day, and he's like, all right, you sold me.
Right. No, you're good, man.
Well, I think we talked about you said you believed in VoloFit, but you came up and go, hey, I'm interested in your 6-week program. I'm like, dude, you don't qualify.
I know, right?
I was like, let me be honest, we can do a regular membership, but other than that, I'm like, you've already accomplished 90% of the process that this would alleviate.
For sure.
I was like, but here's what we can do. We can still have a great time.
Absolutely. No, and it really felt like the next step, because again, like I started really slow on my fitness journey. I just had wanted to, like with Alex, just close my Apple rings every day. And that was kind of just, get in 30 minutes of exercise, no matter what it is, every day. And then once we completed that goal, like I'm a big believer of, okay, well now you have to, like, you always have to have a goal in life. So, short-term, long-term. And so fitness wise, I like to have my short-term ones, but I wanted to have an annual goal as well. And so that's when I came across the Instagram post about the 6-week like body transformation things. I was like, oh, I should try that. And then you're like, yeah, bro, like you're already pretty much transformed. So
yeah, I'm like, yeah, also, why don't we just have you in a class? Give it a shot.
But one of the reasons that I did stick with it was, again, throughout all my research, I'm a big nerd when it comes to researching everything before I do something. Like I have to learn so many different things. So when it came to getting in shape, I knew number one, it was what goes in the body. That's number one. It's all about diet, nutrition, and yeah, I know we're in moderation. We're okay. We're okay.
Moderation. So. I think moderation is a subjective term
for
when
sure.
It comes to
yeah, especially with this stuff. But to put it in perspective, before I was working out, before I started caring about what was in my body, this was a 2 to 3 times a day sort of thing instead of a once a week sort of thing. So it was big change.
I feel you. I mean, and I guess that kind of leads down a nice little dark place too, because there's a lot of us that we use it as a release, then it becomes a cope to something that's pattern, and pattern is a slippery slope, right? Yep. It can go on either side of that tightrope.
Yeah, patterns are habits, right? So it was just.
But we're creatures of it, right?
We are.
Like you said, 30 minutes closing those rings, but look at that compound interest of just
100%.
That one thing, right? Think about that 1%.
Yeah, the 1% rule.
Yeah, 1% rule. I mean, because 1% is the ultimate multiplier.
Absolutely.
If you multiply a value of 10 to 1%, that value is at 10.
Right.
If you multiply 2 to 1%, that value is at 2.
Yeah. Well, what did they say? It's like, would you rather take $1 million or a penny doubled every day for a year or something? Like, and it's obviously a penny doubled. Like it's ridiculous if you look at the actual numbers of that. You hit $1 million on like
pick it up,
15
multiply
days.
it by 2, multiply it by 4, 8, 64.
They compound
to the point where the IRS is going, hey, I think you owe us some money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't get me started on the IRS. We're gonna go down a bad path here. But no, man. Yeah, being a numbers guy, it just made sense. But no, it was the 3 pillars you talked about. It was nutrition, it was fitness, and then accountability. That was the other one.
But and everybody's accountability is different. Mine is my daughter. That's actually working with kids.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they keep you honest.
They do, man.
Oh man. At the end of class one day, one kid was like, seafood, raised his hand. I was like, yeah, what's up? And he goes, one of the songs had bad words. And I was like, yeah.
Yes, they did.
You know what? I didn't even hear it.
we're numb to that stuff.
Well, we're numb to it. And I was like, I did not hear it. But thank you. I will make a note of that.
Thank God we have, I've got good kids too. They keep me in check. They're like, Daddy, I don't like it when you say those words. I'm like, all right, you're right. I need to do better. So, but no, and I got to say, I got the opportunity, obviously, bring my son, and I know you're a father as well, because I've been trying to get him just to get more active and just to find more things to do than sit in front of the TV and play video games. And so, we got him into soccer, and then when you invited us to go watch your class to the Kaju Kempo.
Hey, there you go.
Got it. Kaju Kempo.
That deserves a drink.
There we go. Cheers to that. To me pronouncing something correctly.
Well, it's a weird acronym, man. Come on.
It is. It's hard to say.
Unless you've said it 1,000 times, it still doesn't roll up the tongue.
So watching you teach Kaju Kempo, we got there a little bit late, but I did get to see your interaction with the other kids. And what I really enjoyed was not only are you teaching them different skills, but within those skills, you're also like, they were life lessons. Like you were giving little pieces of advice. Like I love the little ritual of the, praying in to the mat in the beginning. And like, we're talking about look, life is hard. Sometimes it sucks. You might get hit in the face, you might bleed or whatever, but we wipe it off, we move on. And so like there were so many little mini nuggets of wisdom in your in your session, man. And like I was I don't know if you saw me, I was all smiles the whole time. It was so great to watch you interact with the kids, because that's somebody that I can tell you're truly passionate about what you do.
Well, thank you.
And that's hard to find in this world. And so congrats and cheers to that for that, brother.
I mean, and that's a family tradition right there.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. But we talked about that mat. You saw us bow to the mat. And there's a big reason why we bowed to that mat.
Okay, I want to hear it.
When I was training with my dad, before we kind of moved into a school or we were at other places, we were doing rolls and I was being thrown takedowns, right, on concrete.
Oh my God. That's intense.
You learn how to do things really quick. Really quick.
You learn how to use the correct form.
Keep getting hurt.
Yep.
And the mat's there to protect us. So we bow as a way to say thank you for being there, because the ground sucks.
For sure. That's cool. And I mean, it's just little things like that though. Like I feel like in life, there's so many little things that we forget to, just be appreciative for. Like we're in a world of wanting one more and wanting so much more that sometimes we forget to just appreciate the things that are in our lives that are simple, that keep us safe or protect us or whatever, make us happy.
And well, that's another thing too. Like, I've been teaching for a long time. And like I said, being a third generation, I've seen a lot of things. And one of the biggest things I've seen, especially with a lot of the martial arts schools that are highly public, right, or heavy on publicity and things like that. Not going to point anybody out or names, because that's not what I'm here for.
Of course, yeah.
But I see that the number one characteristic that they try to promote and push is a leadership. There's a problem with that.
I agree.
I'm not against someone being a leader.
Right.
But we already know, right? A leader, that's a unique quality.
Mm-hmm.
And the best leader is also a really great follower.
I agree.
And we have too many cooks in the kitchen and not enough prep cooks, not enough line cooks, not enough, sous chefs. We have more chefs, more chiefs, and not enough Indians. And the Indians make the tribe.
I agree. Well, and I feel like, and I don't know if it's just a cultural thing with America, but it's like, sometimes it's all about being like, we're kind of taught that's the goal, that's what we're supposed to be, but that's not always the thing. Like we all have different skill sets, we all do different things, and it's not to say like someone that's a leader or someone who's a chef compared to a sous chef is devalued one way or the other. It's just they're different skill sets, and I think a lot of people forget that it's okay to be different. Like that's why we're so awesome. Like it would suck if we were all the same. Like
if we have a bunch of leaders, then who is following them?
Right. Yeah.
And if we don't have, and it actually, if we go and change the script and perspective, if you look at ballroom dancing, the person who leads isn't the one who's in charge.
Right.
Because the person who leads can say, go this way, but the person who's following can say, no.
Sure. Right.
But it takes someone to understand what it's like to be a great follower and off of the right priorities.
Absolutely.
Or maybe we could go down this dark pathway of politics. But if we look at what the problem with politics in the first place is, where people are relating politics to their identity versus their priorities.
I agree.
Right? And that's a huge one.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. And that's why people they get really emotional about it, because they're connecting it to their identity, and it's not.
Absolutely, it's not.
Priorities change, and again, not your identity.
Nothing's off limits on happy hour. So my issue with politics in general is kind of the whole system, because the problem in my mind is that we have theoretically the right and the left, which means at some point a line is drawn. And there's people on all different
Sith and Jedi.
Right. Yeah. Sith and Jedi. Right. Like that's where it is. But at some point that means there has to be a line drawn in the sand, and that you have to pick a side. And I have a problem with that, because there might be things on this side that I agree with, and things on this side that I agree with and disagree with on both sides too. Why can't there be a different setup to where, and that's my problem with politics. It's like you're kind of forced to choose a side, whether you agree with it. And there are people that are all in on their side for whatever reason, and it becomes a part of their identity. But I think deep down, if they look at it, like the ones who are winning are the ones that are actually there. Like they don't care about us. At the end of the day, it's a job for them.
We need individuals to be great followers to understand leaders,
Right.
or actually to hold those leaders accountable.
Mhm.
I think that's a big one. So we kind of rewind back to, what martial arts does. It doesn't just create leaders.
Yeah.
It creates individuals. One of the reasons I love working with kids is because to see them grow, man, that's magic. That's like real life magic.
It's
right
really
there,
cool.
man.
Yeah.
To see them light up, but
Mhm.
also know that this is not always going to be the reality.
Right.
And what are they going to do when it's not always sunshine and rainbows?
Absolutely.
What are they going to do when it's hardships and remorse,
Right.
or guilt?
Well, and I love that you talk about that stuff because I feel like there's a lot of people that just don't even bring it up either out of fear, or they don't want their kids to understand that those are things they want them to experience on their own for whatever the reason. But I do think it's important to talk about that stuff, that life is not all sunshine and rainbows. Like life straight up sucks sometimes.
Heavily.
And that's okay. But to your point, it's all about learning from those things. Like we're taught that failure is bad. Failure is the reason I'm here where I am today. Like you have to fail in order to learn. Like if you look at, and children are born with this, like, they don't understand because they're smarter than us when they're babies. Like when they're trying to learn how to walk and they keep falling, you can imagine if they just gave up. Like they don't give up. They get there until they can
don't
walk.
Understand
Right.
that yet, right?
And somehow it's taught to us that it's okay to give up later in life. And I don't know where that comes from. So I love that you talk about that stuff.
Thank you. Yeah. And it means a lot. And when I'm working with the kids, like the biggest thing too, is to let them know you're not always going to be ready.
Right.
Your tenure, the time you put in doesn't always measure as qualification.
Right.
It has to be the repetitions. I encourage the kids left and right, practice. And, I say 2 minutes a day.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys don't have enough knowledge to go pound.
Right. This is it.
2 minutes a day
baby
is
steps.
enough.
Yeah.
Well, they go, how many do you know? I was like, well, let's see, 26 katas, about 86 techniques that I can just throw off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And about 1 million different variations and different fighting combat scenarios. And I'm like, and they're like, how many have you actually used? I was like, probably more than I would like to admit.
Yeah.
But then the next reality on that is I didn't use one thing in full succession. It was, I picked from here and into that one, into this one, into that one, and then voila, you have a dish.
There you go. Yeah.
Right. And it was that collection being able to be resourceful.
It's creating that toolkit so that you have the options, just like any toolkit. Like there's tools I have probably that I've never used in my life, but I still have them.
Yeah.
I have that ability. And it's the same with the skills and knowledge that we learn. Like,
yeah, but I think in martial arts, in a different context, it's one of those circumstances or abilities that you always want to have and never want to use.
Right.
But never want to not have when you need to use it.
Correct. Yeah.
Like if we look at the psyche of an individual, there's 3 concepts that actually apply in an interaction: fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
And the fight is either I have nowhere else to go and I got to hold my ground. The flight is I need to get the heck out of here. Or the freeze is I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to elicit a cognitive reaction in the individual so that they can make a distinct decision versus freeze.
Definitely. Yeah.
That is
the
the
freeze
worst.
we want to get rid of.
I was like, do you need to run? Yeah, run.
Yeah. Then
Get
go.
out of there.
Get out of here.
Or do you have to hold your ground? Yeah. Well, you ain't got no choice. Go.
But
are you going to give up?
And you have to, that stuff those are our body's natural reactions. And so in order to, change that, it takes practice and time and repetition. And then that's your whole thing.
Well, actually, the freeze is not a natural reaction.
Isn't it? Really?
It is not. No, our amygdala, our entire, reptilian brain is designed to fight or flight.
Oh, that's true.
Our cognitive brain is the one that goes, well, what's the right answer?
Yeah.
What's the right answer?
Yeah.
There is no right answer.
Yeah.
What's your answer? It's flight. Cool, that's the right one.
Then there you go. Yeah, just pick one.
But the only condition that becomes problematic is when you freeze, you leave yourself open as a prey. And running from a scenario is not prey.
Right.
Fighting in a scenario is not predator.
Right.
But you don't want to leave yourself in a position where you don't have any means to protect yourself.
Man, if you think about that, that is really deep, because it's like freezing in life, if anything, like that's the equivalent to basically doing nothing. And if you're doing nothing, if you're not progressing, you're not moving back, you're just standing still. That's the definition of death, isn't it? Like that's like when you stop.
I mean, that's the living death, I guess you could say.
Like,
but I mean, and that also leads into other scenarios, right? Like, person doing nothing but complaining why things are happening. It's because you didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything, man. Yeah.
Or why nothing failure. Or no, maybe it's the fear of success.
Or that too.
Right?
Or just fear in general. But again, inaction will absolutely destroy you. Like I would much rather somebody not know what they're doing and still attempt it than do nothing at all. Like,
because you can figure it out on the way.
Absolutely.
Oh, we were talking about getting the lights and everything set up, and here's
a lot of the times I just jump.
Oh man, I messed up teaching so many times in my life.
We all do.
I've been working with kids, and I just got so mad. Not at the kids. I got so mad at one of the parents. I just let the verbiage out, and they're like. And I just felt horrible because I was like, I'm sorry. Because like rule number one, and this goes out to all of you that are parents, right?
Yeah.
If your child is training in even martial arts or doing any type of sport, shut up, sit down, be their number one cheerleader. That's like the best thing you can ever do for them.
I agree.
Let the coaches there to coach. Let the coach coach.
Let the coach coach. Yeah.
You're not the coach. Otherwise, you'd be in there with them. And if you don't have the time, sit out, but give your child the best gift that you could ever give them. And I said this the other night. You heard me. The most precious commodity that we have in this world, in our life's existence, it is more valuable than gold. And in all honesty, it's more valuable than diamonds, and it has a shorter lifespan than money, and that's your time. If you simply dedicate that to your child by watching them, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My gosh. The conditions of fears and circumstances that you have in the rest of your life, you exponentially decrease them.
Big time. No, it's true, man. Like, and I know for me, like, once you become a parent and a father, like it's just, your outlook changes a lot on life, like just, everything that there is. So like, I remember, growing up and thinking that my dad had it all figured out. And then once I became a parent, I realized he definitely was just making it up as he goes along. Like we're all doing that.
Yeah. It's like the manual comes to you. Hey, you're a parent. Here's the manual. There's nothing in it.
There's no manual.
You got to write it as you go.
Well, and what I also learned is that kids kind of come as they are. Like they are who they are. Like we can attempt, we can shape it and we can push them in certain directions, but their ultimate core or their soul or whatever you want to call it, I feel like they come as they are, and we can just kind of guide them in where we want them to go, and ultimately that will become who they are. But I truly think that kids just they are who they are. Like my son and my daughter, like they're so unique, and it's so great watching that happen. So it's cool that you get to see that with lots of other kids with you teach.
Most of the time I'm just creating environments.
Yeah, see,
I'm just creating environments
because they are who they are.
Yeah, and allowing characteristics, traits, morality that belong to them to either flourish or expose.
Right. Absolutely. Now, and it was cool because I noticed, just in your interactions with the children, like how the kids are, like you're very supportive, like even when something bad happens, like that one kid, he got kicked in the stomach or in the sternum and knocked the breath out of him. Love that kid.
You okay?
Right. And he took a minute, but like, you were supportive.
Did
like
you Kia?
Yeah.
No, that's why we Kia.
But you're not making him feel bad. Like, it's like, you know what? You got hit. It sucks. Take a minute and we'll get back to it. So I just loved all the little lessons that you taught. So
thanks, man. And I'm not gonna lie, every time I'm sitting in front of the kids or even any of my students, anytime I'm in front of them, to me it's a scary thing. Not because I don't think I'm good and not because I don't value the lesson. It's because I care about them feeling like they got the benefit of that lesson.
For sure.
Like it means that much to me that I'm sitting there at home, I'm writing it out and going, how am I going to make this feel entertaining?
Right.
To still get the point across.
Well, you do a good job with it, man. Like I said, I just went to one class, but it was really inspirational. So I know you kind of grew up in fighting or not fighting, the martial arts.
Yeah.
I know I learned that.
We talked about martial artists.
Talking about the difference between fighting and martial arts.
Yeah.
So with martial arts, you grew up with it, but when did you decide that you wanted to teach it? Because that's a different thing. Like,
oh man, that was so there was a heavy resistance in teaching it. So as much and it's funny that you say that, like, I'm very passionate. I'm passionate about working with the kids.
Yeah.
When it comes to Kaju, there was a heavy resistance for a long time. And
Okay.
it had nothing against the martial art. It had nothing against my dad. It had nothing against my grandfather.
Yeah.
But it had something to do with, I didn't feel like it was an identity that I had of my own.
Okay.
Right. I was following
because you were kind of born into it.
I was
because
born
it was
into
a
it.
tradition.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a gi on me since the day I was born.
Right.
It's just changed
That's
over the years
part of your
as
life.
I got older. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always been a part of my life. I don't know my life without it.
Okay.
That's not a bad thing.
Of course not. Yeah.
But taking that into context, I really didn't start teaching it until got to the point around 27, 28 when my daughter was being born.
Okay.
That's when the reality, I was like, I've got to take it to the level that means something for carrying on a family tradition. And that's the other thing too.
Okay.
This is a family tradition. I'm teaching something that's close to my heart.
Right.
Something that carries with my name.
Yeah.
It's a family
legacy.
Yeah. It's not just hey, this is something that we've done.
Right. Yeah.
This is like, hey, so my dad taught me this, but I want you to see this. By the way, science has changed. Here's what I've learned.
Well, no, and that's what's cool because you've taken everything that you've learned from your family and from your tradition, and you've turned it into your own thing, and now you're passing it along, which in my mind is the greatest thing you can do for the world. I was reading a book the other day, and I'm going to butcher how the sentence went, but the gist of it was where you have failed in life and then succeeded makes you the number one most qualified person to then teach that. Oh, yeah. And you are almost obligated to do that. And it was like, I kind of read it over and over, and like, because you think about your failures in life. I thought a lot about like, where I've screwed up.
Words in that sentence.
Right. Like this is where I've failed, but I'm still here. I was able to move past it. Now I become the most qualified person to teach that because I've done that. And so I really had to read it a few times to figure it out. And it was like,
well, it's like that word you just said, obligated, right?
Obligated.
How many times have we heard that word and given it this contempt of
right?
burden?
Yeah, we don't tell me what to do. Like that's
and to a degree, it almost felt like I was obligated to still be in Kaju, be involved. Yeah. And that was part of my hesitation is I had this sense of obligation in a negative connotation. Then a lot of counseling and a lot of communicating with my closest circles, the communication started to change from the obligation being a burden to the blessings that come with obligation.
Right.
I have gotten to work with the best martial artists ever.
Yeah.
Gentleman by the name of Richard Bustillo, Grandmaster Richard Bustillo. He was one of the two main individuals that taught Bruce Lee Eskrima and how to use, and they didn't teach him how to use the nunchucks. They said he was that excelled. They taught him how to use the sticks, and he took the nunchucks and just turned it into his own. But they were his two strongest confidants at the building of Jeet Kune Do.
Okay.
And the entity that we know as Bruce Lee. But also, I got to work with Dan Inosanto. If you've ever watched Game of Death, right? Yeah. The Bruce Lee and the banana. So,
yeah.
Right. The scene, the tower where he goes against the guy with the stick. That's Dan Inosanto. He is to this day is one of our most iconic martial artists, instructors, practitioner. He is. I think he's like in his late 70s.
Wow.
And he's still super active.
Okay.
Right. A great historian as well.
Yeah.
I've gotten to work with one of the greatest Sambo instructors, Gokor Chivichian.
Yeah.
The list just keeps going on. And this came out of obligation.
Yeah.
I got to help train the super fly weight, the Hawaiian punch, Brian Valoria.
Okay.
It was a blessing for me to catch for him. It was fun. And I love those things. Like these are blessings and opportunities that came from something that's an obligation.
Right.
And cool.
So now why are you fighting it?
Why am I fighting it?
Yeah.
And then now it's just changed and flipped into this other context, leaving California, unfortunately missing my home, the Dragon's Den. Love you guys. Mahalo. Uni. Right.
Are you you lived in Hawaii?
No, Union City.
Oh, Union City. Oh, okay.
We call it the Uni.
The Uni. Okay. See, I know that. Yeah, I'm a born and raised Arizonian. So
nothing wrong with that, man. And I'm like, that's the only thing that, we have the worst weather out here in Arizona for 4 months, 4.5 months. but then the rest of the time is perfect.
Right? Yeah. You just got to get through those 4 months. I call our summer our winter because that's when, like, you know, the East Coast and they're all snowed in the winter months and they can't do anything. They have to stay at home. We're air conditioned in the summer and we have to stay in.
So are you gonna like hang out in the front porch with a sword and a big old thing saying summer's coming?
No, I'm gonna sit right here in my bars.
Instead of winter's coming, summer's coming.
Right. All right. As a martial artist, I got to ask,
All right, do it.
what are your thoughts on Chuck Norris? As a real martial artist, I should say.
Oh, he's one of the best.
Okay. He's one of the best. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Good to know. Okay. I didn't know if it was one of those things like, you know, like he's kind of, you know.
COVID got sick with Chuck Norris.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
I mean,
Okay.
come on,
All right.
man.
Well, Chuck Norris is the real deal then.
Chuck Norris is the
heard it
real
here,
deal.
so.
Yeah, we don't ever say an unkind word about Chuck Norris. No.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. I didn't know if it was a gimmick or if he was the real deal. So.
He's the real deal. The
good to know.
gimmick follows the deal.
Right? Well, that's super cool, man.
Yeah. Keep going, man. Let's go.
Awesome.
What else
All
you
right.
got?
No,
Let's
I'm
go.
trying to think
Let's go, man.
what other questions because I've always been into you know, during the early 2000s when UFC got really big.
Yes.
You know, I was one of those douches that had the tap out shirt and the whole thing. So I loved watching those things. But I mean, I think I heard you say you've done stuff like that before.
I've done my fair share.
You've done your fair share of cage fighting.
Yeah.
And that's pretty intense. Like,
Yeah. It has its non-sanctioned, so
Right,
nothing
okay.
on the
Yeah,
record. It's
nothing
backyard brawl and stuff. So
man,
basically, it's like, hey, somebody keep an eye out for the cops.
man.
But
Just remind me never to piss you off. So.
Oh, don't worry. That's what therapy's for.
Right.
But no, I mean, it's that intense. I'll honestly tell you though, if I had a choice between cage fighting, kickboxing, or boxing,
Yeah.
boxing 100%. Man, that's
Really?
the sweetest, beautiful science, right?
Yeah.
There is a reason why TMT, Money Mayweather is that darn good, right? From a fighter's perspective, man, that guy is gold.
Oh,
he is gold.
Beast.
I mean, because what's the rule of boxing? Get hit the least.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gets hit less than Mayweather because he's his head moves.
Oh, he moves,
his
man.
counter, that half stance, he has got it on dialed in.
Yeah.
But if I have to go a good individual that I love watching, Vasily Lomachenko. Oh my gosh. Yeah, from Ukraine.
Okay.
He's one of the best. To me, he's one of the best boxers.
And he's a boxer.
Tactical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very great tactical. But then you got the other guys coming up. The Canelo still bombed.
Yeah, Canelo.
He is still
You like
fantastic.
Pacquiao? I really like Pacquiao.
Of course.
He's a badass.
Of course, he's a great senator too.
Yeah, he's so, right? Yeah, Manny Pacquiao.
Manny, the Pac-Man. Actually, funny thing is and I came in with one of my favorite jackets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this company right here, it's called Salves. If you guys get a chance, check them out. Salves, and this inside lining. You guys probably have a hard time seeing it.
Yeah, you won't be able to see it on the camera, but dude, that's sick. It's like a bunch of skulls and roses.
Oh man, it's beautiful. But
that's sick.
My cousin, his name is Mike Lewanig. He owns Salves, and he's helped a bunch of other guys. Project X, Who Cares? Like just down this line. He's fantastic. If you guys ever get a chance, check out salves.com. Salves.com. And he actually had one of the greatest opportunities to work in printing and logo and designs for Pacquiao, Manny Pacquiao, also the Golden State Warriors. And man, dude, like one of the funniest things that I send my cousin a text, I'm like, you need to stop making cool shit.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, see, I'm trying.
Yeah, you'll almost always see me wear Project X, Salves, or anything with the DD logo.
Okay.
And almost always shorts and flip flops at the end of the day.
Nothing wrong with that. California.
It'll be raining outside. Flip flops.
Flip flops and TikTok. Hey, I'm jealous, man. I've always been in financial services, so I was a suit and tie guy for years, and I'm super pumped that I get to dress like this to work now. Like this is like a dream come true.
That whole scenario has changed.
Oh man, yeah. I was a suit and tie every single day for 10 plus years, and then I came over to my current company, and they were like, "No, you wear whatever you want. We don't care."
Oh, dude, man.
And so but it was kind of like it was hard. Like I remember I was like, okay, well maybe I'll take the tie off.
Well, we both come from
I'll take the
similar
jacket
cultures
off.
on that. When I got started in the fitness industry, and I got started to work with fighters too.
Yeah.
Like, I learned MMA conditioning, movement mechanics, injury prevention, metabolic pathways. Like for those of you that are listening, I'm geeking out.
Yeah.
But I went through all those, and then I'm like, all right, I got all this education. I'm ready to work with fighters, and they are all broke.
Yep.
They are all hoping for the purse, and you're like, well, That's not a way to make a living.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
So it kind of shifted. Fitness shifted into working with a lot of general population.
Yeah,
helping out with lifestyles, habits.
for sure.
Learning coping mechanisms like, can we still lose weight and have an old
Right.
fashioned? 100%.
Absolutely, you absolutely can.
100%.
Yeah,
Moderation, context, or at least awareness.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's what it is. I feel like people. That's why I hate the word diet, because like diets fail for a reason, because they're temporary. They're not like I remember when I first started trying to lose weight. Like I tried several times. I went to the Red Mountain weight loss. Absurdly expensive. Like it was.
Watch out, guys.
Like I spent so much money on their weight loss program, and it was so restrictive that I just hated my life. And I was like, I'm not doing this. Like I can't live like this, until I finally found that nice balance. It's like, you can still eat good and have healthy, good food, and also enjoy other things. Like, but it is about just balance, and there's a lot that goes into it. But it's not the all or nothing mentality is a recipe for disaster.
Well, it's not a recipe for disaster. It just has to have the right context.
Right. Well, and
I guess you could say it in that
baby
way.
steps, I guess. Like if you try it, like if you go from eating, cheeseburgers and fast food and every single day to all of a sudden
chicken and tilapia.
Yeah, chicken and tilapia and salads, or with no seasoning, that's going to be tough.
Right. And like nutritional context.
Yeah.
Since we're on that subject now, it's a flipped script. What we've learned, like I said, we talked about age the other day.
Yep.
I didn't want to tell everybody how old I am.
It's okay. Still don't have to.
Not as young as I look, my friend.
You look great, man.
But it's been flipped. We used to find out, you need grains and breads and a good copious amount, your greens and veggies and proteins, right? Like those were going upward, and the fats were at the top.
The triangle, the pyramid or whatever.
Now that triangle is completely upside down.
It is.
Right? As little bit of carbohydrates as possible. Why? Well, because we're no longer working in the fields. We don't have, nothing against you. You're in the mortgage business.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean you're going out and hi ho mortgage I go. Right. You're not.
It's not a labor intensive job.
No.
It's not a physically demanding job.
So why would you want those kind of contexts of nutrition when it doesn't serve that purpose?
Correct.
And for the next piece of that is, man, those carbs are fantastic and yummy.
Yeah, they are.
Right. I'm like, hey.
Especially when they're processed and filled with sugar.
Yeah. You almost feel like you're having an affair.
That's true. They are delicious.
You're sitting there in the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good stuff.
Go away. But
that's true.
Yeah, we've been given the wrong context of food.
Right.
We've heard the normalcies of calories in versus calories out.
Yep.
But nobody's ever explained it properly. It should have been explained to kids at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
Calories in versus calories out. What does that mean? Cool. What you take in, okay, don't take in less than what you need.
Right.
Do more than you are taking in.
Right.
Easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we flip that in, and that lives in a life lesson, right? Balances, checks and balances, right? Don't spend more than you have.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's all math at the end of the day.
It is. And we see it. And we see those two actually parallel each other, right? Those that are heavily obese live in a negative checks and balance lifestyle, right?
Absolutely.
They have a hard time aligning their finances with the things that they want, the things that they can do, and whether they're going to go further than that, right? So like one of the beautiful things about our fields, right, is if we want money, we go get it.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. But if we're working a hourly 9 to 5, you are only taking what you agreed upon, unless the individuals above that are in control of the finances, agree to give you a loftier balance above that. So technically, in their eyes, you have to earn it,
right?
Instead of it's the money that you get.
100%. Now, there's a quote by Kevin O'Leary, the guy on the Shark Tank show, Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful. And that's what he talks about. His definition of a salary is, oh man, I'm going to butcher this too. I'm killing my quotes today. But his definition.
Maybe you need another one.
I know, yeah. Or I just got to Google it is what I got to do. But no, basically he's like, you're basically saying, this is my self-worth. I'm giving that up for this pay. Like that's what it is. Whereas if you just believe in yourself and you do what you're capable of, and it's not to, knock anyone that has a regular job or whatever, but in his opinion, that's something he would never do. And like, I totally align with that. 'Cause it's like, I could never go back to a corporate style 9-to-5 job. Like I absolutely could never do that. Like I need to be able to run my own show because I prefer to do it that way. And it's funny, like people talk about entrepreneurs and, self-employed, but it's like, we'll work 120 hours a week to avoid a 40-hour work week. Like,
I don't know. I would say it also comes down to your priorities.
Mhm.
So being in the fitness industry as my main career point, I've done it. Yeah, I've pulled the 120 hours a week. You met me. I would get up at 4 in the morning.
Absolutely.
I would go to bed at 7 at night to get up at 4 in the morning. And my girlfriend even makes fun of me about this one. Like sometimes she's like, "Why won't you get out of bed before 7?" And I was like, because I got out of bed at 3 in the morning for 10 years.
Because I did it for so long.
I did it for so long. I'm like, I got 10 years to make up.
Right? I got lost time to make up for.
Yeah, but it's a great way to be like, yeah, this is what I've done for the fitness industry. But then I started creating my own boundaries, which was unheard of. Like I would sit down and they go, "Hey, will you do this?" Nope.
Yeah.
And they go, "Why?" I'm like, because there's a life outside of here that I want.
100%.
And if I can't gratify that, then the amount of time I'm putting into this, that's what I have to focus on.
Right.
Not just doing these extra things. Now, that then rewinds back into what we were talking about with martial arts, right?
Yeah.
That whole understanding the requirement of what you need to do within a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the drill. I said, all right, catch. Now, good. Now catch, and at the same time jab. Cool. Now catch and jab. Now, as soon as you jab, you're going to swim that arm around. So you're going to make sure that you make contact, swim the arm around. And then from there, you're just going to push and then step through for a nice kick. And then looking at it from the back end, you're like, oh, dude, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Why didn't I think about it? Well, because you haven't practiced it.
Well, and here's how good you did it. So that was one of the first things that Easton showed my wife when he came home. Like he was like, "Mommy, I learned how to do the punch and the catch," and and so he was all excited about it.
Nice,
So
and that's good.
But it is like it's repetition. It's just
But the repetition has to make sense.
It does,
like
the right repetition.
Yeah, I see it all the time on Instagram from a lot of like not just martial arts. Now I'm going into a different hate mongering right here on the influencers.
Oh my God!
Oh man, you're like, why would you do that? Because it's cool. I was like, you're standing on a skateboard. You have a barbell across. You have a weight hanging from your head. I'm like, just because you can doesn't mean
you should.
Man, you're just like, are you okay?
Yeah. Have you seen that one guy on Instagram? He's like he like people that post videos of other people in the gyms that they're like making fun of, and then he like turns around and he's like tells them why they shouldn't be making fun of it. Like,
yeah,
I can't remember his Instagram thing, but he's just like, why are people like? He's like, you should never shame someone for like doing this workout. This actually is a legitimate workout. Here's what it does, and so he'll like correct it for people because there are people that teach the wrong thing.
Yeah, or like some of the negative contexts is functional fitness. Everything's functional fitness is getting on top of a stability ball with a barbell in your hand while chomping on celery and doing presses to the beat of whatever, I don't know, Britney Spears song.
Yeah.
Like that's supposed to be functional. Why? Because it challenges multiple receptors. No, functional is this. If I have to bend there and grab this, I need to make that repetitive action not be demeaning on my spine.
So that's the real question in this world of influence and social media where so many people have a voice now. How do we know who's right and who's not?
Unfortunately, you can't, because like we rewind what I said back about other martial arts. There's too many people trying to be leaders.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to follow.
Right.
Number one reason you had this beautiful transformation, right? It's because you kept it simple. You had a program. You like that's the biggest one. You didn't do workouts. No. You had a program. And then what was the program? Close the rings.
Yep. Close
30
the
minutes
rings.
every day. Program was close the rings. Cool. What is connected to that program? Well, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to connect to this. This is my program.
Yeah.
Right. Just doing a workout anytime you get a chance, like, oh, I follow this person. I do this workout. I do this workout. I do this workout. that's not a program. That's a
Right.
workout. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like
Right.
I've seen some of these influencers pop out with really bomb workouts. I'm
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
That's gonna be a no.
That's a no. I'm like, I don't even see where that would fit in at least a 3-week cycle. No. Yeah. And then, week and a half goes by and I totally forget about it.
Right. I know.
But that's just it, though. It's not a program. And
Mhm.
if you look at the individuals who don't get hurt often or at all, if you look at the individuals who have their beautiful or enjoyable physique, it's consistency, it's repetition,
Mhm.
and it's a program, right?
Right.
There's a phrase I really like to you like share with a lot of individuals, and it's every doctor needs a doctor, every dentist needs a dentist, every coach needs a coach. So, and I say that in
100%.
straight context. I am a fitness professional who has anywhere from 3 to 4 coaches on a different aspect of the things that I do.
Absolutely.
If you don't have a coach, like just because you get a personal training cert, just because you went to a workshop or a seminar, you are not qualified to work on yourself.
Correct.
That's got to be the biggest context taken out of the equation. You're more qualified to find a person to work on you,
Right.
but you shouldn't take that sole responsibility. That's everybody's trying to be the ace, and they forget that there's 4 other cards in your hand to make a full house.
Well, and it is, I don't know if it's a pride thing, but it's a lot of people think that that's just something like if you're successful, if you're good, you may think that you don't need that. And I'm talking from experience because I was one of those guys. Like I've always done pretty well in sales and in my career. And so I was just, I never thought I needed a coach. But this year I hired a coach for the first time, and I can tell you
Nice.
it has elevated me to just a whole new level to where I now know that I have to have a coach in some aspect of my life. So whether it's financial, for fitness, like I know, and that's why I do the Volo fits, because I know that I'm not going to do a HIIT style workout. I'm never in a million years going to, run on those fan bikes for a minute straight unless someone is yelling at me and telling me that I have to.
Or looking at you like this.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm not
Why are you slowing down?
I'm not going to do that stuff on my own. I know what I can do on my own, and I do, but if I'm trying to get to that next level, I know I need someone to show me how to do it. And
the quickest way from point A to point B is find someone at point B.
Someone that's done it.
Yeah.
It's like it's really not that hard, because you can use that in any aspect of your life, whether it's for fitness, for financial, for your mental health, for religion, whatever it is, wherever you're trying to get to, find someone that's there and then do that. And then on the flip side of that, I had another friend tell me this. He said, you should always have a mentor and someone that you're mentoring. You should always have both. That's how you find that perfect balance. Like you should be learning.
One of my favorite
and
contexts with the students that I have is you need 3 people to develop as a martial artist. You need someone who's better than you. You need somebody who is less than better than you, and you need someone who knows you. Right?
Yeah.
Those 3 individuals are gonna make you excel dramatically.
That's true with life, not just with martial arts, man. I mean, that's everything.
And like those circles are, if we look at it in context, the person that is not at our level is usually somebody that we're helping out, or
of course,
or it's our kids.
Yeah.
Right. The person that's above us, that's usually our coach, our parents,
right?
Somebody in our network, our mentors, right? And then the people that are in that circle that know us, that's our circle.
Those are your people. Yep.
Those are your people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, 100%. Then that's a great context for life.
No, it is. Like, and I think that's kind of why, like, once I had made the decision that I was going to, be better physically and work on my fitness, like there's so many correlations with like, the finance and with entrepreneurship and just life. And so like, it was really interesting.
It's all the
same stuff. Like you can apply this stuff in so many different places.
I mean, what are we in right now? November 4th?
Yeah. November.
We just passed
November 3rd.
It's It's all candy.
Right.
It's all candy. They just have a different wrapper.
It's true. It's true, man. Like, or the other one, I saw someone the other day, they were like there's so many days in the rest of the year, because this is kind of the time where people tend to let themselves go, like, New Year's is coming, I have my New Year's resolution, I'll work, everything's tomorrow or later or next time,
or when it slows down,
like, and that is such a stupid concept if you think about that. Like
100%.
I mean, we have how many days left in the year, and Thanksgiving is one of those days. Halloween is one of or we already passed Halloween, and Christmas is one of those days. So like and New Year's. And New Year's. So like 3 days out of how many out of 60 plus days? And you're going to give up on all those other days just so you can enjoy those other 3? Like, to me, that just doesn't make sense. Like,
excuse me.
No, you're good. You're good. Need another drink?
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe I do, but like, I think that was me scoffing at the context. But
yeah, it's
so almost every sales industry runs into the dead time of this period, right?
Yeah.
Rewind 10 years ago, and I'm not going to lie, from the period of just before October until mid-January, this is actually my busiest time.
Yeah.
I push people
too.
left and right because this is the time that you test your metal, right? We always say this, fire is what hardens steel. Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens
like
iron.
These two contexts. But you can't make iron without fire. So if you take yourself out of the flame, right? You go to when everything is less than chaotic or less than high prioritized in other attentions, right? It's easy for you to feel like you're doing right. But it's also easier for you to fail hard.
Right.
Whereas if you begin the steps in probably the most highly, I'm trying to think of, there's so many different words and I think 10 of them are inappropriate.
It's not a family friendly.
But if you put yourself into this high stress situation, Thanksgiving, these holidays, these are the best time to actually see where your strengths are and what needs improvement. I hear it time and time again. How do I do on Thanksgiving? I think just fucking eat.
Absolutely.
You want turkey? Go get turkey. You want mashed potatoes? Go get the mashed potatoes.
Absolutely.
Just do me a favor. Go do a 5K before you do that. Why? So that you can enjoy it guilt-free.
Yep.
Don't punish yourself. Don't reward yourself. Be accountable of yourself.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Well, it's like the challenge we have at the gym right now. It's like, we've got the heart rate monitors and the goal is to burn, 3,400 calories before Thanksgiving, because that's how much the average American eats on Thanksgiving Day is 3,400 calories, which is crazy to me.
It's very crazy. And I got a nice context. If you guys get a chance. So we talked about coaches. One of my coaches, his name is Jason Phillips. Hands down, one of the most raw individuals I've ever met in my life. The word fuck is part of his vocabulary. And he at the end of the day, he's a fantastic human being.
Yeah.
He's abrasive. He is forward. He is centered. He will not let you cut your slack. Like, he will be right up in your face, not because he doesn't care, but it's because he knows you can succeed, but you're holding yourself back and he needs to push you forward. So here we go. My coach, Jason Phillips, decided, and he's one of the greatest nutrition coaches, but he did a 10,000 calorie challenge, not just eat. His goal was to eat 10,000 calories and then burn 10,000 calories.
In what kind of time frame?
One day was eat, one day was burn.
Holy
it was back.
shit.
Yeah, it was intense. If you guys get a chance, and I'll send it over to my boy HatchMan. Watch it. Get it under.
What's his name?
Jason Phillips.
Jason.
Yeah, we're gonna do that, huh?
Oh yeah, I can type it in. We're good.
Type it in. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yep, Jason Phillips. He's on
Make sure I
YouTube.
spelled that right.
Nutrition Coaching Institute, Business Coaching Institute. Great guy. Awesome perspective of what we take for granted.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not necessarily the factor of it's 10,000 calories.
That's a lot of calories.
It's a lot of calories, but what he ate to make that 10,000 calories, it's a lot of food that we see individuals eat on a regular basis.
Oh my God.
Which is really like, that whole your brain exploding. And then he's trying to make up for it on that whole calories in versus calories out.
Yeah.
And just watch it. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Watch it. And you finally get a true understanding of how the physiology and the mathematical equation of calories in versus calories out in true application faction.
For sure. No, it was so one of the things that got me to lose weight was an app called Noom. It's just a program. It's pretty inexpensive, actually. I think it was like $50 for like 3 months. And all they taught you was, we put food into categories. So you just log your food. So for the first week, you didn't even you didn't change your diet at all. You just log your food, just input what you're eating into our little calorie counter thing. Yeah. And that by itself was eye-opening. And then they make you read an article every day to kind of just learn different things about nutrition. And then they put food in different categories, like here's all you can eat, here's where you should moderate, and here's where you really need to moderate. And so like it was an app where like, and it was cool because I could go to the store and I could scan barcodes and it could tell me what category it was in and how much of it I could have. And so it was just a good way to kind of get you on the path of understanding food, because people don't understand it.
Yeah, but the context you had to be for that.
Yeah, no, you have to be in the right mindset.
Yeah, that's very tedious.
Yeah, it is.
And 90% of the time, everybody goes into these entire plans and they're like, okay, I want macros. I want you to teach me how to eat.
It's a lot of work.
And then here's the thing that we go like this. Okay, we're gonna teach you how to eat. And you should go for the first week and just log everything in. That's a lot of work. Now you're telling me how hard this is.
I did it for a year. I logged everything that I ate for a year, and it was hard. And I was so pumped when I got to stop doing it, because I'm like, okay, I finally understand enough, because I had done it so long.
Yeah.
And so here, like, again, the eye-opening stuff as far as calories that are in things. So it's either Applebee's, or, not trying to call anybody out here, but like one of those fast food restaurants, the artichoke dip as an appetizer is 2,400 calories.
2,400 calories.
2,000 in an
That's in
appetizer.
one dish.
That's in an appetizer, a starter dish before your meal even happens.
Yeah.
That's more than you should, like, again, depending on where you're at, that's usually more than you should be intaking in an entire day as an appetizer.
Exactly.
So it's that type of stuff. It's eye-opening things like, holy shit. So like, I know when I say 10,000 calories, but if you think about it, if you pick those calories correct, that's a few of those little dips, man.
So now rewind, right? I like to use that phrase
insane.
just to bring you back.
Yeah.
Let's look at NFL.
Yeah.
Right. Sunday football.
Yeah.
I don't know if you still do it, but I've done my fair share.
Of course, I used to.
You know, just beer in hand. Just keep the wings coming.
Yeah.
Right. Like that,
yeah.
and that just adds and adds. It adds. And I'm not gonna lie, I love boneless wings.
Oh man.
Right? I've nothing against regular wings, but I love boneless wings. Why? Because I just want to pop it in and not have to be like.
Yeah, they're easy. You get straight to the meat.
So you can easily go 2-3 beers, 1 plate of wings, and you're at 3,000.
Oh,
easy.
Yeah. Without even realizing it. And that was what was eye-opening about the logging the food for me. Like, because I didn't change anything. Like, I was like, oh, okay, well, I had this. I'm like, and so, yeah, but like 10 o'clock in the day, I'm like, I've hit my calorie budget for the day. Like, what the hell? like,
and I'm still hungry.
Yeah, and I'm really hungry. So like, it's just, but we don't talk about it enough for whatever reason. It is what it is. But you have to.
We do talk about it.
We do.
But we talk about the wrong context.
Yeah.
Everybody is wanting to know their macros. Everybody's wanting to know how to lose weight. Everybody wants to know how to burn fat, tone up.
Nobody wants to do
Why don't we just say, hey, how would you like to go through your day, eat as much food as you want, and not have to feel guilty about it?
Right.
Oh, and by the way, you can have an old fashioned.
Absolutely. And you have a drink.
Like, I love my fair share of old fashions, right?
Yeah.
But I'm a beer guy. I'm a beer guy, 100%.
Okay.
Like but I've set my standard.
Yeah.
If we go to a restaurant, and I always say first things first, after you kind of tracking your food for an entire week, set a standard. Like right here's our standard.
There you go.
I think your son Easton said, hey, the more expensive ones are on the top. I said, yeah, we call that top shelf.
That freaking kid.
Right? So I have a few clients who you're probably going to tell me I should stop drinking. I'm like, no, we're going to set a standard.
Right.
First things first. What do you drink? And they're like, oh, da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, cool. How do you feel about X, Y, and Z? And they're like, well, X and Z sound fantastic. Cool. So let me get this straight. If you went out and you got these drinks, would the tab be different if you just went with X, Y, and Z? And they go, actually, no, it'd be about the same. And I was like, do you like X, Y, and Z better than these other things that you're getting? He's like, oh, yeah. I was like, sweet, let's do this. Get that whenever you go to the restaurant.
There you go.
Just get that.
And get said, one.
No. I said, just get that.
Okay.
Now, here's what happens. Our mind actually plays this wicked trick on us. And I'm going to use a story that was actually done. This study of 3 slices of cake were done. And on one slice of the cake, they said it was $5.99.
Okay.
Second slice of the cake, it was $15. Third slice of the cake was $75. Okay. Like, dramatic jump.
Yeah. Massive differences.
It was the same fucking cake. They just used 3 different slices and put a price tag in front of each one.
No shit. Okay.
It was the same cake. And everybody was like, that $75 cake, I can taste the creaminess in it. and like they were justifying the quality of the other 2 slices when it was the same goddamn cake.
Same fucking cake.
Yeah.
I totally believe
So
that.
what happens is when you put that price tag right in front of something that you're normally doing, you end up creating a different rapport with that experience. You set a different standard. So what ended up happening is I didn't have to tell him to drink less.
Yeah.
He chose.
So you didn't tell him just to pick one. You just said, just order this instead.
Yeah, just order these. These are top shelf.
Wow.
And since he knew that it was a higher price tag, he took it at a different pace.
Right. That makes sense.
So it ended up becoming a mindset shift without telling him. Guess what? Lost 20 pounds in 4 months. Right? He lost 20 pounds in 4 months.
Yeah.
And still to this day, he's losing weight. He's fantastic.
That's so cool.
We talk about it. I was like, hey, how was your night out? He's like, I had too many drinks. I was like, cool. Well, where'd you get it? He's like, unfortunately, it was because I didn't have a choice. And it was like, okay, cool. He's like, yeah, and I'm feeling it. And then, but it's like, we have different conversations.
Yeah.
Because he goes, unfortunately, it was we changed it from the quantity to the quality. And it makes a difference, right? If you're having,
absolutely does.
You know, if you're having an old fashioned with something that's top shelf, let's use, you know, a 75-year-old whiskey or bourbon, right? 75-year-old versus a single year aged barrel,
right?
That's the taste is way different,
very different,
like significant. You sip it faster or then slower, right? Why? Because when it's aged shorter, it's spicier, so you drink it faster. It tips on different parts of your tongue.
Absolutely.
Oh, by the way, my sister is a classically trained chef. My dad is as much as he's my martial arts instructor, he is a fantastic cook. So food and alcohol in the variety, I've grown up with it as
that's so cool.
More of awareness rather than like burden. And then I learned
it's
so we learned a lot. Like one time, and I love this story. My sister, I'm driving, and my sister calls me, and I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "Hey, I need to make a dessert, but I can't use sugar." And I'm like, wow, you're the pastry chef and you're asking me this?
Right?
Goes, no, I'm just trying to bounce some ideas off you.
Yeah.
And we started talking, and I made a couple of suggestions. She's like, I'll call you in a bit. Click. Calls me back. That was fantastic. I love it. I'll call you later. But it's like, it's my favorite story because we she used me, not because I'm the professional.
Right.
She's the professional, but she was getting stuck in some ideas and she wanted to rattle her brain out.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to talk it out.
Right.
Yeah.
But it turned into the quality. Because she had to change the liquor quality to draw out more pectin from the fruit.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Right? Yeah.
No, it's true. Like the power of collaboration is also something that's so impressive to me. Like, because again, it's that whole, it may be a peer, a coach, even somebody that maybe is at a different level entirely or a different thing. When you can collaborate with people, you get different points of views. And that's what's really cool. When you can get different points of views, then that's when you become dangerous and powerful, because you can start to see things from other angles. And it's just, I mean, that's what life's all about is, you can't be singular. You have to constantly be growing. Otherwise, what's the point?
Well, if you only go in one direction and you end up at the finish line, and we know where the finish line is.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's same for all of us.
If you end up at the finish line, when you look back, if you can only see the road that the one directional road that you came from, what have you learned from that? What legacy have you passed on?
Yeah.
But if you've had to take twists, turns, bounds, rewind, start back again to the front and come back forward, right? You then have like coming into this place where you're like, it's my time.
Right.
You are actually coming to a place of acceptance, not because you lived a life that was incomplete. You lived a life that was fulfilling.
Absolutely. So I got one last quote to share. This one is from Ed Milet.
I saw him in person.
Oh, did you? So did I. So this quote is from one of his speeches I got to hear in person. I just finished reading his book, The Power of One More, which is glorious, by the way.
Oh, that story about his dad is fantastic.
God. Like I'm a pretty I don't really cry. I'm not a super emotional guy. That last chapter, I was like, oh man, there's something in my eye. I don't know what's going on here.
Pepper.
It was rough. But one of my favorite quotes from him that he talked about was, he said he talked about his version of heaven and hell. So when you die, and again, there's a lot as far as what happens when you die, but he was saying in his mind that when you die, you get to meet the best version of yourself, and your personal hell will be is if you didn't do everything to become that person. And that was really deep to me. And then he said, but heaven would be, you get to meet him and be happy because you did everything you knew you could do to become that best version of yourself. And that is what heaven is. And that, like, it gave me chills even just now talking about it. I'm just like, man, like, cause I'm I'm super religious guy, but like that really resonated with me. And like, so, you can use different acronyms than heaven, heaven, hell, whatever,
right.
but the context, but that, to me, that's really what it's all about. Like, if you're not doing and trying to grow and become your absolute best every day, what are you doing? So anyway, man.
Yeah, one of my pastors said something very similar. This is before I got a chance to meet Ed Milet and all that jazz. And he, as a father to a daughter, one of the things that we want as parents, from my perspective, and everybody else can be different, but we want them to grow to enjoy who we are.
Yeah.
And my pastor asked me to close my eyes. I closed my eyes and he said, imagine you're walking up to the front door to ask you if you can take your daughter on a date. Did it make you smile? And I said, no. He said, that's what you got to change.
That's deep too, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and like just kind of parallel.
No, yeah, similar ideas, but
similar ideologies. Yours is more final.
No, for sure. Yeah, mine's a little more dark. Yeah.
Mine would be more the evolution leading in.
No, for sure though. But it's like the type of person you want your child to be with. So or to be for sure.
So, or to even reference.
For sure. No, that's good stuff. Well, man, we're pretty much right just past an hour. This was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me.
Never enough time.
So we'll get it going. We're gonna get your podcast going here soon, and then I'll be a guest on that. But I'll have to have you back another time for sure. But thank you guys for listening. We'll get all the details out. But yeah, Joseph, thanks, buddy.
Roo.
Cheers.